Okay, welcome to the channel. So what I wanted to discuss today is probably the most important bit of equipment you're ever going to spend your money on in backpacking and hiking, and that's your hiking boots or your hiking shoes. Hiking boots and hiking shoes come in 4 different categories. That's A, B, C and D. There are some mixes between those categories, but let's not confuse, let's not make it rocket science. It really isn't. I'm going to tell you the world's worst pair of hiking boots at the end of the video, so stay tuned to that. For the moment, let's start going through the different categories. Now, a category A boot or a category A is a walking shoe. I don't actually own any walking shoes, so this is going to be hard to explain. I don't like them. I think specific walking shoes, there's nothing really different to a pair of running shoes or a pair of everyday shoes. So I have some running shoes here. These are all trail running shoes. I use them instead of walking shoes, and I use them for quite long distances and for the majority of the treks that I do, as long as I'm not carrying a lot of weight. So let's go through these. I have a pair of Nike Trail Wild Horse something or others. I don't use these at all. They look quite nice. Nike or Trails always have the nicest colours, but they're pretty rubbish on actual trails. I bought a pair of Scott only because they've got a carbon plate. I've never tried carbon plate before. These actually have really, really good grip on the bottom, and they're quite soft and they're quite comfy, but they're not brilliant either. The ones that I mainly go for on my hiking and backpacking is these. They are Sauconys, whatever we call them. These are TR2s, Ride TR2s. These are actual trail running shoes. They are super soft and super comfy. If I'm going to use a Class A shoe, this is going to be my go-to shoe. I like sometimes jogging with a rucksack on. I like going a few miles, so these are super comfy for doing that. The second type I have on them are exactly the same make. I'm not going to go through makes. Find what is comfortable for your feet. These are a pair of Peregrine Gore-Tex ones, and the only difference I use these for is if it's raining. These have got a bit of waterproofing on it. Now, Gore-Tex on your shoes is only going to last about 2 to 3 hours, I've found. If it's raining and it's torrential and you're river crossing, your feet are going to get wet anyway. But it'll stop you for a few minutes, maybe hours more, from getting your feet wet. Whilst we're on the category A shoes, there is a specialist type of category A shoes. These are called approach shoes. I don't use them for hill walking. I use them for going climbing. And I've got my fiance's climbing shoes here. This special rubber, it's made by a specialist rubber company called Vibram. Vibram are the best rubber making company in the world when it comes to shoes, and they're specifically only doing rubber, so they know the best. Climbing shoes, they use a special Vibram sole, and you can see here they're very, very sticky and they're very good for rock climbing, so rocks. The type of Class A shoes that we have, called approach shoes, use the same Vibram rubber around the front here, sometimes around the back. They are not very well cushioned. They're more for sticking to rocks that you're walking up to a climbing area. So do not confuse these with a pair of walking shoes. They will not support you as well as a pair of walking shoes or a pair of trail running shoes. They are not made for that. They are made for approaching crags. Okay, that's our Class A shoes. The ones I recommend are a pair of trail running shoes. If your ankles are strong enough, you can also use these for hiking. I would say anywhere up to about 10 kilos on your back, and your ankles should be, once you train them up, should be strong enough to just wear a pair of trail running shoes instead of buying an extra pair of walking shoes at Class A. Our next ones are a Class B, and this is getting into an actual hiking boot. So you can see the boot is actually higher, it covers the ankle. This is my fiance's again. They're a good pair of Salomon. They are also Gore-Tex. Like I said, Gore-Tex only lasts for about 2 to 3 hours until your feet get wet anyway. These are higher, so it might last a little bit more, but a good pair of boots. The reason why you start wearing boots is because your ankles start tanking more weight. So if you have a rucksack on your back, I would go 10 to 15 kilos on these, so up to 10 on a pair of trail running shoes, 10 to 15 kilos on a pair of soft boots. This just stops you from twisting your ankles when you're climbing over rocks or when you're scrambling a little bit. You can also notice these are a lot stiffer than our pair of trail running shoes, which bounce nicely. A lot stiffer in the sole there, giving you a lot more support when you start carrying weight. Another pair of these are a different type, so these are good for in Europe for the rain and the wet grass and everything else, just because they're Gore-Tex and they're quite solid. These are a pair of boots that have air vents on them. This is for hot work, so you still need to carry a lot of weight, but your feet are gonna, sweat a lot in the heat. They have a lot of vents on them. They're actually nice and strong to carry that weight still. I'd be going kind of 10 to 15 kilos on these as well and be comfortable with them. Next we get into a category C boot. This is kind of more where you get into higher altitudes or where you're actually trekking instead of hiking. Slight difference in my eyes. Trekking is where you've got loads of weight on your back, anything around 15 kilos or more depending on what you're doing. If you're going out for multi-day adventures a week or so, I'd be starting to get into these and be trying to use these because they're slightly more comfortable. But if I have to, these are my weight carrying ones. They're super stiff, they are super strong, they will support your ankles on uneven terrain. And this is a very old pair of boots. I've had these a very long time. One, it shows you how much of the time I carry very high weights, but also if you look after your boots, they last a long time, so well worth it. Category D boots I don't have here. I don't do high altitude alpine work, so they are your specialist equipment boots. Scarpas, I think, and La Sportivas are two of the best makes on them. They are very specialist high altitude Everest climbing boots. They are super solid. They're rigid boots. I'm not going to talk about them here because one, I don't use them, and two, by the time you get to that specialist area of climbing Everest, you should know your different types of boots. You should have built up your own experience and you should have learned from it before you get to paying 600 quid for a pair of Scarpa at high altitudes or something. What do I recommend? I recommend going for something like this, the trail running shoes to start with. If you've only, or these soft boots here, if you've only got money for one and you're only going hiking and not going trail running or going jogging off road, go for a soft boot like this. Try and spend your money on something that's soft, that's super comfortable. Brings me on to what I said at the start. The worst pair of hiking boots you can ever buy in the world is a pair of hiking boots that are not comfortable. If they're not comfortable, they'll cause you blisters and you will ruin your backpacking and hiking trips. I personally, I am a bit of a gear freak, as you can probably tell by the amount of shoes I own, but I am not an expensive gear freak. I do not go for the most expensive gear in the world. I go for the stuff that I like, that suits me and that works for what I want it to. I don't care if you go out and buy these in a second-hand store or if you buy them in Go Outdoors compared to, the specialist, super high quality, expensive ones. It doesn't matter where you buy them. Make sure they fit you correctly. The worst pair of hiking boots in the world is ones that do not work, do not fit you comfortably, cause you blisters, ruin your trips. I'd recommend one of these or one of these, depending on your fitness level and what you want to do. If you're hiking, go for these. Okay, if there's any more questions on this, I know this is a quick overview of boots. If there's any more questions, give me a shout in the comments. I'll try and answer everything. I do recommend when you go and buy the boots, go to a specialist shop, try them on and see which ones you like and which ones fit your feet. You can't do that online. Go for something like this, go to a specialist shop, have a look round. Hope that helps, and please subscribe and like the channel.